Hey guys, thanks for coming today. Um, Wanted to get started with our presentation here. I wanted to introduce two people that are going to be helping me. First off, I'm Scott Nielsen, Director of Business Development here at Ontech Systems. And then joining me is Mr. Justin Bredeveld, who is on my business development team, as well as Mr. Thomas Bride. So today, what we're going to be tackling is public versus private AI and what SMB leaders need to know to stay competitive. So this is geared towards you if you're in a tech leadership or in a leadership position at a company in Eastern Wisconsin. We know that AI has been a pretty hot topic lately, and one of the things that we felt we wanted to touch on was what is a public AI tool versus a private AI tool. They are very similar, but there are different use cases for both, and we're going to get into that in this presentation here. So one of the topics that we're going to explore today in the agenda are what is public versus private AI. We're going to go over how they differ. We're going to cover real world use cases. We're going to cover risks and compliance. And then we're going to go over how to choose the right approach for your business. This is, or these agenda items are very specific to what we're going to be talking about today, as you know, you guys will be adopting some of them as AI becomes more prevalent and you guys decide what tools you want to use. And then at the end, we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A. So to start off, we're going to get really basic here. What is AI? So AI, artificial intelligence, refers to the simulation of human intelligence processes in machines, enabling them to perform tasks that particular or typically require human intelligence, such as learning, problem solving, and decision making. So for SMBs, AI can automate repetitive tasks, improve customer service, enhance decision making, and personalize marketing. It's going to do this by data input and processing. So AI systems receive various forms of data, such as text, images, sensor readings, or structured data. The data is then fed into algorithms. So it's much like, when you're growing up and you're learning the stove is hot, right? Like you go touch the stove, it's hot, that registers in your brain, that fires back on all your neural networks, and suddenly your body realizes, oh, the stove's hot. The other way that AI learns and grows is through pattern recognition. So it's going to look at algorithms to analyze and identify patterns, relationships, and trends, which make it adapt over time. So we're going to go into public versus private AI definitions and differences. Public AI, you are renting the car. Uh, I would say if you're renting a car, you don't want to turn it in with all these mods on it and, just custom tires, seating. The dealership would probably get mad at you for that, or whoever owns the car. Uh, Private AI is going to be like owning the car. So you can customize it, but that customization is going to come out of your pocket. As far as access goes, it's going to be public AI will be more open. So just general information that you can throw in there. Private AI is going to be more restricted to your organization. Data privacy, uh, with public AI, you're going to want to be cautious about the data that you put in there because it will be shared with other models. So, for example, if you're using a free version of ChatGPT, whatever you put in there is going to be shared with ChatGPT to make its algorithms better. Private, that data is going to stay within your control. Customization, public AI is very, very limited. You really have the bare bones of the tool with public AI. A good example of this would be the free version of Copilot. Private Copilot can analyze your inner environment, such as Microsoft Word, your own SharePoint, your Azure environment, and use that data to make presentations or analyze spreadsheets. The free version of Copilot, which is public, can really only give you questions and answers or very general responses. They're not going to be super specific to your own environment. Cost, obviously, public AI is going to be quite a bit lower or freemium. Private, it's just going to be higher and upfront, but it's going to be more scalable. Some things to think about when thinking about costs are costs of the infrastructure that you need to power it, and then costs of staff that you would need to maintain it if applicable. With respect to security, public, it maintains that shared infrastructure. So whatever you put in, just remember, like it will be bounced around to help the algorithm. Private, you're going to be responsible for securing it yourself, but also if you are, it's going to be a little bit more secure. A good example of an industry that uses both public and private really well is the medical industry using Tandem AI. Uh, a general customer service chatbot prompt can suffice for like website errors, password resets. But if you want to go further into medical records, the insurance company will use more customized predictive analytics tools on your own personal medical record. And we'll go into that more in a later slide. So use cases for small to medium-sized businesses. So our sister company, Ontech Talent, I don't know if you've ever been on their website, they use a chatbot just for general inquiries and getting in touch with their leadership team. Content generation too, it can spit out some general marketing flyers. We use it shamelessly sometimes for marketing purposes, and then market research and trend analysis. Private AI use cases would be more predictive analytics based on data ingested. So if you have a construction project that you've done in the past and you have record of it, that would be something where you could tell the AI, hey, we want to see replicated success of X project. Can you predict that for us? Custom recommendation engines, and then AI-powered inventory management. An example would be a local retailer using public AI to write product descriptions, but private AI to analyze customer behavior. One thing that you're going to want to keep in mind is defining how you will use the AI, ensuring ethical guidelines are followed, and then clarifying who can use the AI tools and for what purpose. The policies that you enact are going to help protect your business while building out trust and accountability. And then once the foundation is in place, we already went over the ways that SMBs are using AI today. It's going to get a little bit more technical with private AI, just because it is more under your control. So going into risks, challenges, and compliance, while AI offers incredible potential, there are going to be some risks with it. So here you can see some incidents that occurred with ChatGPT involving, some big names. So Samsung, there was a bug, and then credential theft. But Samsung employees, they accidentally pasted confidential source code and internal meeting notes into ChatGPT. That was a public instance. So they essentially leaked confidential information out there. The ChatGPT bug allowed users to see client chat titles and billing information. OpenAI definitely had to take the service offline to remedy the issue. And then credential theft via malware. Over 100,000 ChatGPT credentials were stolen through malware like Redline and Raccoon. I have no idea what those are, but if any of you are Ontech customers and you've spoken with Blake on our security team, he got a shout out on the last webinar we did. Someone typed Blake is the GOAT in the chat. He would probably know. But the credentials were later found on the dark web marketplace. Another thing to be aware of is, and this isn't on the slide here, but you'll want to make sure that you know what you're paying for and using, especially if you are going to be purchasing an AI tool that is supposedly more private. A good example is the app Builder AI. The app had raised more than 450 million in total funding and promised to make app development like super easy, like as easy as ordering a pizza. That was its slogan. And its AI assistant named Natasha was seen as a bit of a pioneer in building software with little human input. In a twist to the story, it turns out that Builder AI was actually 700 offshore engineers marketing human work as AI to push the app. So, long story short, know the tools, right? Know the past risks. And then if you're developing your own, really work with a partner to advise on locking those down. Choosing the right AI strategy, you're going to want to ask yourself some questions. So there are 3 questions on the slide, especially with the one, what kind of data do you handle? Ask yourself, where is the data going to turn from something publicly ingested to something that's protected, right? So if you're a medical firm, if you have a chatbot and you have a person with an account and they're trying to, just get regular tech support, that might be a public arm. Whereas if they're consulting with the chatbot on medical information, that's probably going to fall into private. With budget, you're going to want to take into account not only the software and the tool itself, but if you're building your own tool using private AI, you're going to want to take a look at probably costs of hosting it on your own infrastructure, paying someone to maintain it, paying someone to make sure all the data is correct in there, and then paying someone to lock it down. So obviously private AI, there are more things to consider. Actionable steps. We recommend you start small, evaluate risks, consult experts, and then audit your business processes to see where the actionable use case of AI is. What we see typically with business leaders, and we deal with Microsoft Copilot a lot, is business leaders want to know, how can I get more time back in my day? And one of the things that Copilot does very well is by integrating with your environment, it can get, a couple hours a week back when it comes to designing presentation graphs or pinpointing data within SharePoint that you want to find. You don't want to go hunting for it. You can tell that private AI instance of, the paid Copilot license to find this for you in SharePoint. The other thing is really lean on your technical team to give you guidance on how to best secure your environment and take precautions using tools like Copilot, ChatGPT, and Claude. The other thing that we're able to do is if you are an Ontech customer, you are assigned an account manager. So one of our account managers recently went out to a client and trained them on prompting for Copilot, using it, and everything it can do. So that might be worth asking your account manager for some help on that too. Some key takeaways for AI in the SMB space. AI is no longer for big tech. Small to medium-sized businesses are using it and should every day to be competitive. A good example are some security AI tools. So if everyone's familiar with CrowdStrike, they had that blue screen of death incident a couple years ago, maybe last year. They were really focused on enterprise, leveraging their AI to protect the enterprise space from unknown threats. They've recently broken into the SMB market, leveraging their AI to predict unknown threats for SMBs. We at Ontech use a security tool that leverages AI to predict behavioral analytics. So the point of using that is we are trying to protect for more than just what is known, what could come up. So we're protecting you for the future. And then understanding the trade-offs between public and private AI. Like if you're a financial institution, you might lean quite a bit more towards private AI than public. If you are an institution with very little regulation, you might be off to the races with just downloading ChatGPT as long as you're aware of the information that you're putting in there. Some case studies of successful implementation. So these are unnamed, but I do have some national examples too. But again, if you're in retail, writing descriptions using public AI, but using private AI to analyze buyer behavior, healthcare, predicting patient outcomes based on historical data and improving treatment plans, and manufacturing, using private AI to optimize production schedules and reduce downtime. Some major, more national examples are going to be the company Sheen in the retail space. My wife likes to shop there occasionally, but they use private AI to recommend outfits based on purchasing history, social media trends, and apps that talk to each other. So for example, if you're browsing Pinterest and looking for like the latest like summer trends, Sheen is probably going to start using AI to generate recommendations from some of that data. A good example of healthcare is Kaiser Permanente. They have a private AI instance that's custom built that uses AI to predict patient outcomes based on lifestyle choices, past medical history, and hypoglycemia incidents within a 12-month period. So the tool that they use looks at kidney function history, insulin use, and emergency visits, and then helps calculate and factor out treatment and premiums. Siemens uses both public and private AI in manufacturing. And what they did with that was they developed a hybrid approach to optimize their circuit board production, which in turn reduced downtime for their facilities and helped with their quality control. Future trends in AI for SMBs, I'm going to turn this one over to Thomas Bry, and he's going to grab the next couple of slides here.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. As mentioned, my name is Thomas Pry, and I am going to start off with the trends in AI for small businesses. The first trend is actually going to be the most obvious one. We're going to see greater adoption. CrowdStrike did an analysis of small businesses and found that only 11% are currently leveraging some sort of AI-powered automation tools. Expect to see that kind of double annually for the next couple of years until we see, almost 100% adoption. Some of that adoption is going to be forced. Some of that is going to be, stuff that you're going to choose to do on your own. But if you see, your Bing, your Google searches, even your very basic internet browsers are now integrating AI. Really, whether you like it or not. And it's actually very much altering the landscape of how the internet actually gets used. One of the things you're also going to see is more accessible AI solutions, which is going to be kind of the key. So one of the really great things here about being in the southeastern Wisconsin area is we actually are going to have the first of its kind. So Microsoft teamed up with the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee to create the first of its kind. It's called the Connected Systems Institute. And what it is it's going to be a place where manufacturing is going to be able to connect with AI experts from Microsoft to help improve efficiencies, help the IoT, help the operational technology, and help them actually develop programs and software. So it's going to be somewhat collaborative. Obviously, Microsoft does have a stake in it because they're going to be able to sell those softwares. But the goal is to help 270 businesses by the end of 2030 here in Wisconsin. And there's been a lot of grants. And that's also going to be one of the other trends that we're going to see is increased formal training. So right now, a lot of the training that we see related to AI has to do with more on the surface. Some of it is that we just haven't dived as deep into it in some areas. But you're going to see a formalization in the AI training, like you would in any area of cybersecurity. And that's also going to be from an IT perspective. And you're already seeing that with certifications, but then also from a user perspective, where part of an onboarding with an organization is going to have to include some sort of AI education. So. And that's one of the things that we actually, have kind of seen here at Ontech, as Scott has mentioned. We've helped organizations leverage Copilot by doing, kind of helping people when they're onboarding and everything. So next, we're going to talk about some of the ethical considerations when it comes to AI use. And there's kind of four big ones that you routinely see in the area. And when we kind of talk about this, I want to keep in mind the magical case of Lensa AI and their avatars. So, not sure if you're familiar with it, but Lensa is a freemium AI tool that allows you to upload your photos, selfies, and then kind of make different versions of yourself, whether they be like a Monet style. Painting, Jackson Pollock, weird, more
I
pop
had
art
it
kind of
make a
thing.
superhero version of me.
Okay, yeah,
So yeah, I was
yeah,
just curious to see how I
yeah. You
look
can,
like Superman. So yeah.
yeah, you can do pretty much anything. But they failed to be transparent in a couple of things. One, they were not transparent in how they were actually creating the images, which turned out that they were actually taking three-dimensional biometric reading of your face. And so there's actually some people who, under the Biometric Illinois Protection Act, sued Lensa in its current case, basically saying that they're stole their biometric data. There are also some continuing ethical concerns because Lensa is using like known artists without actually giving them any credit. And this actually came about because though Lensa is a for-profit company, the model that they bought was from a not-for-profit company. And so museums and stuff had lent their collections to be basically put into the model for the not-for-profit, thinking that that was never going to be shared with the general public and used for profit. And then lo and behold, we move forward, and that's kind of one of the issues that we have here. One of the other things that we want to be very aware of is bias in the algorithms and being fair. And this can be as simple as if you have a model and all you do is upload pictures of cats that are tigers, it's going to think that a cat is a tiger. And it's going to be biased towards the tiger cat and not know that there's large cats, small cats, house cats, things like that. And I know I'm being a little silly, but this can actually have much more serious ramifications when it comes to, you know, even the learning that we see in law enforcement and using algorithms to identify suspects, because we learned that those models were based off of certain subsets and not including all those. So the other thing that we want to make sure is that when you're using an AI tool, that the tool and the company behind it are held accountable. So when we're talking about accountability, yes, we're talking about somewhat internal accountability, but we're also talking about accountability with the actual product. Is there a method to, one, tell them that there's an issue? If they have issues, do they have an internal way to remediate it? And is there a way to actually hold the organization accountable? One of the problems that we have right now is that the federal government basically relies on the NIST framework and NIST guidelines, but there are no hard actual laws that generally overarching govern, you know, AI as a general commodity. And so that's obviously, you know, one of the issues there. And then obviously we do have the, you know, privacy concerns that we talked about with sharing, you know, information that we shouldn't be in. And next, we want to move on. One of the most important parts when we're considering AI use is to actually come up with policy. And there's a couple of items that we want to consider when coming up with a policy. One is, are we going to be using private or public AI tools? We definitely can come up with a different tool or a different policy based off of that. What you'll find is some organizations are going to allow you know, everybody access to General Copilot, but there's going to be some on-prem or custom solutions that only certain people are going to have. So you want to make sure that those are spelled out. When you also are taking account and developing a policy, you want to look at your organization, see what your propensity for risk is. There's a lot of risk related to AI right now. Maybe it's not the right time to jump in. Maybe you want to let, you know, kind of the market figure itself out and kind of self beta test, right? You also want to check and make sure that there's rules and any regulations. So if you're HIPAA, GDPR compliant, that you're going to implement your AI tools in conjunction with those. And then when it actually comes to the policy, it wouldn't hurt to either have like a legal set of eyes, just a second, you know, outside third party, just get like a little bit of consultation, because a lot of times we don't think of, you know, everything ourselves, right? And they're able to kind of troubleshoot and ask some real questions there. So when it kind of comes to the actual policy, you want to make sure that you spell out everything as specific as possible and give examples. So the first thing is you want to actually spell out the scope and use of AI, what it is that we're allowed to do, what's our goal with AI, and how are we, you know, going to accomplish that. The other thing that we want to do is make sure that when it kind of comes to security, that we're spelling out exactly what it is that we can and can't put into that AI model, and whether we're putting it into the private or public. So as Scott mentioned, if we're talking about health information, financial information, things like that, we want to be very conscientious that, one, if we're creating a model, that we're not using like personally identifying factors, if that's, you know, what we're trying to accomplish. Or if it's like an on-prem model, you know, then we can potentially do that. But we want to make sure that those safeguards are already set and in place. Obviously, you also want to make sure that you are in full compliance with any data or privacy concerns. Again, that's related to your HIPAA, GDPR, all those kinds of things. So um, when it kind of comes to the ethical guidelines, we touched about that, but you want to spell those out. So what are the kind of guardrails and parameters for using AI, and give examples. So the best thing that I can suggest when we're talking about a policy, because we are talking about something that most people did not, well, no one grew up, using as like a general tool, right? We're just not of that age yet. Yeah. So then when it kind of comes to who can use what, you want to be, again, very specific, and outline what it is they are trying to accomplish with those tools and what the actual business purpose is. Yes, it's fun that you can make, interesting graphics. I can make my friends or colleagues, look superhero or anything like that. But is that helping my bottom line? And is that making me more efficient? And is there actually anything tangible that we can see that we're betting from it, right? One of the other things that you also want to make sure that you do is create a policy on enforcement and discipline. So it's great that we, let people know how they should be using it and how to leverage it. But what happens when somebody invariably, starts using their AI tool to like do their taxes or just screw around or anything like that? We need to have an actual spelled out method for discipline and what the ramifications are, so that employees are kind of well versed on that. And then we also want to give employees training. So in conjunction with the policy, one, we don't want to just like send it out and just say, hey, read this over. When it kind of comes to introducing new technologies and a policy as overarching and impactful as this, you'd want to do like a specific training where, again, you're going over first, how are we actually going to use it? What is the goal? Then we're going to actually learn the products itself. And then kind of from there, you're going to want to have, some continuing education and review. And that would be kind of the final piece of the policy, is to make sure that you're continuously updating and reviewing what you're doing and making sure that, again, what your goals are being attained. It's just like, implementing a new piece of machinery. You want to make yourself more efficient and you want to see an ROI. And if you're not seeing that, then maybe we need to alter how we're leveraging it. Maybe we need to get retrained, all those kinds of things. So, and that about covers it for me. I'm going to pass it over to Justin, who's actually going to talk about some tools as well as some additional things related to AI.
Thanks, Thomas. Yeah, I'm going to run through some public AI tools, some private AI tools, implementing AI in your business, overcoming some AI challenges, and then some small business growth opportunities with AI. And I'm going to be kind of conscious of our time, so I'm going to breeze through this pretty quickly. But if you're looking for a more in-depth conversation on what makes sense for your business, public AI, private AI, which one, definitely open to a more in-depth conversation afterwards. But it looks like I got about 10 minutes to breeze through 5 slides here, so I'm gonna take off running here. Here are some public AI tools that I've used. I've actually used the first 2 and actually one more that's not on here that I'm a pretty big fan of. I'll just talk in depth some pros and cons of each. ChatGPT, I'm pretty sure everybody has heard of that one. Some of the cool things about ChatGPT, super easy to use. You can just type in a question, ask it a question, it responds just kind of like that helpful coworker. It's great for writing emails, brainstorming, reports, creative ideas. Some of the downfalls, it can give you some inaccurate information and sound pretty confident while it's giving it to you. It's not always 100% accurate. And it doesn't always know like the latest info. So say some policies or some things have changed. It doesn't always know like the most up-to-date policies. So you just kind of got to be careful, especially any kind of public AI, to not use it as like a strict guideline. Google Gemini, really like that one, especially if you're a Google shop. It ties in with your Google tools pretty well. Gmail, Google Docs, things like that. It can read, summarize, help draft emails, documents right within Gmail or Google Docs. For example, you can ask it to summarize a long email thread, rewrite a paragraph. And one thing it responds really well to, and like ChatGPT does as well, is like a tone. You can ask more professional tone, friendlier tone, more assertive tone, and it kind of responds to that and crafts that email pretty well. I've been pretty impressed with both. Um, Another thing Google Gemini offers is not just text, but for price, images and voice. Like you can upload a photo, speak a question, share a document. Gemini can analyze that and respond accordingly. Some of the cons to it is those cool extra features. They're not free. They come with a subscription. And sometimes, like ChatGPT, it can be inconsistent. It can give you like a vague, less helpful answer. Before I go over to the IBM Watson, I'm going to talk a little bit about Microsoft Copilot because, like Google Gemini, it is built for people that are a Microsoft shop. If you're using Word, Excel, Teams, things like that, it can work similar to the way Google Gemini works. Copilot has become one of my more favorite AI tools. Um, it just really helps write those emails within like Outlook, things like that. It responds really well. If you get an angry email from a client and you want to respond in a friendly tone, you can copy that email, paste it in Copilot, and ask them to ask Copilot to come up with a response, and it can come up with some pretty impressive responses. That especially to like de-escalate a situation if you need to. Then IBM Watson, this is more I don't know, for like your companies that are looking for more security. It's designed to help companies with things like customer service, data analysis, things like that. It's really strong on privacy. It has both public and private AI options. Um, One of the downfalls to Watson is that it's just a little harder to use. It's harder to set up. It's harder to use. You're probably going to need somebody at an IT director level or a third party to come in and help set that up and train on it. Um, and then moving on to Microsoft Azure. I'm not going to dive too deep into this one. It's more for like machine learning. H&R Block uses it just to streamline, writing tax returns quicker. DocuSign uses it. Companies more on that level. Um, yeah, I'm going to dive into the private AI tools then. There are some solutions here. We got custom AI, on-prem, and hybrid. A lot of companies will use both. When it comes to like custom AI solutions, think of it as that like suit that's tailored to fit you perfectly. They're ideal for businesses with unique challenges or workflows. Some examples of those businesses are like healthcare providers. The Mayo Clinic is one of them. They use custom AI to like analyze medical images and patient history, and that helps them diagnose things quicker, more efficiently, more accurately. Amazon. Have you ever been on Amazon and they know what you want to buy before you buy it? It's kind of scary sometimes. Amazon is building an AI to predict what customers want before they even search. Financial firms like JP Morgan Chase, they use AI for fraud detection. I mean, they're analyzing like thousands of variables per transaction in real time. And then some manufacturers, they develop like predictive maintenance models just to kind of reduce their downtime. And then there's on-prem AI platforms. This one is a lot more secure. Everything stays in your house. It's your data, your rules. This would be more like government agencies and defense contractors. They'll use these. Banks and insurance companies, if they're um, trying to get information about some sensitive data, they're gonna use an on-prem AI platform. Healthcare systems, especially if they want to use, if they want to follow HIPAA guidelines, they're gonna use an on-prem AI platform or a hybrid solution. A lot of companies will combine both public and private AI solutions. And with that, I will move on to, I think I saw a question about, what was the question? Recommendations. Oh, actually, Thomas has already answered that. So I will move on to implementing AI in your business. There's a few simple steps. First one, spot the opportunities. Think about those repetitive tasks, those time-consuming tasks. Those are a great place to start when exploring AI. Like, how can we speed these processes up? Definitely start small. I would grab one of the free AIs, public AIs, just don't put any confidential information in there and just see how you could use it in your company. If it works, if you feel like it's going to save a lot of time, help you become more efficient, then definitely invest in one of the private ones if needed. Weigh out the pros and cons. Ask yourself, will this save time? Will it save money? Will I get ROI off of using this? And then bring in the right help. It's always good to have, an AI expert, somebody that can walk you through the process, decide what's right for your business. What are your business goals? Do you need a private AI? Can you just keep using public AI? And then getting your team comfortable with it. Just make sure your staff feels comfortable using and confident using AI tools. A little training goes a long way. I remember way back when I started using ChatGPT for the first time, I spent like 20, 30 minutes with somebody and an AI trainer, and it helped really, really improve the efficiency of my day. And then we're going to move on to overcoming some AI challenges. Data quality. Good data equals better results. You always want to make sure your data is clean and accurate. Just remember when you're using the public AI tools, ChatGPT, other ones like that, they can be pulling data from 2005. Everything on the internet is where they're pulling data from. So your data is not always going to be 100% accurate if you're using a public AI tool. Skills and know-how. You don't have to be a tech wizard. You can always bring in an expert to help and train your team on how to use AI in everyday work. Cost, like I said in the last slide, you can start small. There's a lot of affordable tools that are available, and you don't have to invest big upfront. You can just build as you go. And resistance to change. I would get buy-in from your team early. Some people worry that AI is going to replace them or replace their job. It's just really about showing your team how it can make their job easy and more efficient, not replace them. So yeah, I guess the bottom line, AI can be powerful, but it's more successful when people understand it, trust it, and then just kind of ease into it together if you're using it as a team. Then we will jump into our last slide before Q&A. AI and small business growth. I feel like it helps us work a lot smarter, not harder. It boosts our productivity. AI kind of handles the routine stuff. If I'm writing a ton of emails, it'll help speed up my day. If you're doing a lot of data entry or scheduling, it can help you speed up that. It can help you make smarter decisions. It can help spot the patterns, the trends in your business data, just kind of making it easier for you to decide what to do next. And it can improve customer experience. Tools like chatbots, like Scott kind of talked about, our sister company uses, that can help answer questions instantly and just give your customers a better experience. And it will fuel some innovation. Using AI to explore new ideas is, it helps launch new products, test services, and just improve the way you work. I did make it on time. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Scott to go through some Q&A. I know that was a lot.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Justin. But to wrap it up, AI, it's no longer for big tech, right? It's in the SMB market. People are using it. I would also argue we've been using it quite a bit and we haven't even realized it. So if anyone's a Spotify junkie like I am, like the song recommendations, that can be classified as AI. Google Maps apps, right, or ways, that can be classified as AI as well. So it's not something to be scared of. And then just understanding the trade-offs between public and private AI. Public AI is that out-of-the-box solution that's ready to go. Private AI is going to require more investment. The path to that investment varies based on your scope of work. But thank you guys for hopping on. We'll get a recording of the presentation out to you shortly, and we'll also get the deck upon request. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.